So we are back to a more classic styled Survivor episode this week. There were no Beware advantages, no additional new concepts, no summits or weird dilemmas, both a reward and immunity challenge, and also some great comedic moments and fantastic editing. It was a really great episode overall. We got to see more of the Blue Tribe as well, which was awesome, and also gain an insight into some players we haven't seen much of so far this season, such as Erica and Heather. So we are starting to slowly gain more of an understanding of each of these castaways individually. As always, we are going to go through 5 of the biggest strategic decisions of this episode here at Analytical Strategy today. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel to stay up to date this season. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So we're going to kick things off with key strategic decision number 1, and this was the aftermath of voting out Brad on the Green Tribe. So the episode kicks off with Jeannie really being upset about Brad going home, and wanting to essentially split this Green Tribe apart not only through alliances, but also in catering for themselves for food and also living arrangements as well. So this was an obvious case of acting on emotions when things do not go your way in Survivor. So the more seasoned players would come back to camp and through gritted teeth would say, "Great move, I wish I was a part of it," and then they would go back and reflect by themselves and think of a way to improve and move on with their given situation. However, due to Jeannie being so upset, it actually caused Shan to almost bite back at her, claiming that Brad had an advantage that Jeannie did not know about, and that she was in fact his number 1 ally and Jeannie wasn't. So to be honest, I really did not like this move by Shan, saying this out in the open, especially in front of JD, particularly after blowing up at him last episode for not divulging information to Ricard and herself about his extra vote. So this is a very similar situation, in withholding information, and this information coming out in a way that was not anticipated. Now if Shan had this conversation with Jeannie in private to try and bring Jeannie back into the fold, then that would have been a great play to be like, "Look Jeannie, I felt Brad was playing us both by telling you some things, then telling me additional information, but he wasn't telling us both everything," as this could have shown distrust in Brad overall. But her saying this out in the open, I think this was actually a bad move and almost unintentionally bragging by saying, "Hey, I was his real number 1 and you weren't." It also shows Ricard and JD that Shan is a much bigger threat behind the scenes than she may appear on the surface, as she is already willing in this game to openly vote out someone who considers her as their number 1 ally. JD could have easily taken that extra vote back, sided with Jeannie and put 3 votes on Shan due to her hiding this information, which in hindsight probably would have been the correct move. So yes, whilst Jeannie should have kept her emotions in check more after Tribal Council, I think Shan's retaliation and also acting on emotions to what Jeannie said was a little unnecessary and could only hinder her game moving forward. So now we're going to move over to the Blue Tribe for key strategic decision number 2. So this tribe we really haven't seen much of this season so far, so it was great to get some further insight into what may be happening at this camp. And in this strategic decision, we will be discussing Erica letting Deshawn know that she wants to take out Sydney first. So Erica was stating she's been playing quite a quiet game so far, so much so that no one really notices her in this game, and she almost wants to stop winning so she can vote someone out and get her hands dirty, stating it's already day 8 and she doesn't even have a torch. Now you could argue that Erica is almost contradicting her own game in this one statement, as playing a quiet game is a very legitimate strategy, especially in the early stages of Survivor. And when you haven't even gone to Tribal, laying low is definitely a great strategy that you should continue playing to stay under the radar. Now in saying this is actually a pretty interesting discussion in terms of the new format of this season in relation to the reduction of days in the game. Usually you'd be like, "Come on Erica, it's only day 8, you need to continue playing this quiet game, keep on skating on by," as being quiet and not really noticed is a fantastic position for you to be in. However, when there are only 26 days in this game, they are actually nearly a third of the way through the game already in terms of days played, so if you aren't being noticed by now, you probably need to do something to start standing out. But unfortunately for Erica, she let Deshawn know of this plan, who looks as though he could be in a strong 3 alliance with Danny and Sydney, but this is just based on the limited airtime we have seen of this tribe. But to me, as I mentioned similarly with other tribes in previous episodes, rather than this being a bad play by Erica, to me it's more of a credit to Deshawn for being this player everyone wants to come to. Erica does seem like a very knowledgeable player of Survivor overall, and I would be very interested to know if the days played impacted her decision at this point in time of the game, and if she would have played differently if it was a 39-day game and skated on by a little bit more. Deshawn looks to be in a very strong position on this tribe, and seems to be a lot of people's go-to, which could make him a power player as the game progresses. So this all ties into key strategic decision number 3. Deshawn's attempted move to try and throw this immunity challenge to take this threat of Erica out of the game, as she could hurt his core alliance moving forward. So to me, it is pretty rare that you would throw a challenge in Survivor, especially when you're up in numbers. But in this season, where it looks as though there isn't going to be any swaps pre-merge, it could actually make a lot of sense from a numbers perspective when merge comes around. So in 3 tribe seasons based on Survivor history, we often see the 2 tribes with the minority in numbers join forces to take out this majority tribe. So let's just say, as an example, there's an early merge episode next week, where to be honest it really isn't out of the realm of possibility in this 26-day game. But anyway, green would now have 3 tribe members, yellow would have 4 tribe members, and the blue tribe would have 6. So the obvious plan at merge would be for green and yellow to team up to make a group of 7, go against the blue tribe of 6, and potentially just take them out one by one. Numbers are everything in Survivor, and making moves at the right time to ensure numbers are on your side is how you proceed further in this game. So whilst usually as a general rule, I do think it is a very risky idea to throw a challenge, especially pre-merge, I can definitely see the appeal in this particular circumstance, especially if tribe swaps aren't happening. So for the blue tribe to lose a couple of players before the merge is a really great idea, and it's a credit to Deshawn for thinking this way. The attempted throwing of the challenge also made for some fantastic moments throughout the immunity challenge, such as Deshawn retying the knots. That was absolutely hilarious. But ultimately, Nasir was just way too much of a beast. He pretty much did the whole challenge by himself. He's an absolute warrior, and he looks to have a lot of skills in many different areas, and he really could be one to watch out for in challenges if he can make it to the individual portion of the game. But in the end, the green tribe lost this immunity challenge, and that leads to key strategic decision number 4, their decision for tribal council. So firstly, we saw JD try and convince Jeannie not to use her shot in the dark die, and I personally don't really think he did a great job from what we saw in the edit. The best way he could have convinced her was exactly what I mentioned earlier. Say to Jeannie, look, I'll use my extra vote, we'll team up, we'll become the new power duo, and we can take out Ricard or Shan, it's your choice who we vote for. And to be honest, I think this was probably the best move for both of them. Regardless of who went home out of Jeannie and JD, the other is now automatically on the bottom. Shan and Ricard are running this camp, and they have been the whole season. The way to take the power out of their hands is to team up, use the extra vote, and become the new power duo of this tribe. Anyway, the fear alone of JD using this extra vote and teaming up with Jeannie at least played on Shan's mind to the extent that she realised it was a possibility for him to make this move. So she went on Operation Let's Get This Vote back from JD to ensure things go her way. She really acted up, being the paranoid individual really to perfection. So much so that getting that extra vote back actually worked. I could not believe it. This was really a horrible move for JD, giving this back to Shan, as even if everything went to his plan and he stayed in the game with Shan and Ricard, the smart thing for Shan to do is never to give this vote back anyway, as then she has the risk of there being a 2-2 split with JD and his extra vote against Shan and Ricard. If she holds on to this extra vote, then her and Ricard can take him out regardless. We have also seen numerous times in Survivor history someone give an advantage to a player and then get voted out right afterwards, and with JD being such a super fan, he should have known this was definitely an option. So overall, a really bad play here by JD, but also a credit to Shan for pulling this off. But now with JD's vote in Shan's possession, again this tribal is going to come down to the power duo of Ricard and Shan, and whether they will side with JD and take out Jeannie, or whether they will side with Jeannie and take out JD. Now I think a lot of factors would have been discussed here, and one crucial one would have been the shot in the dark dice, and whether Jeannie would have rolled it like she was claiming she was going to do so. I really think the shot in the dark will be a learning curve for us all, until someone can play it successfully to see the true impact it can have on this game. Shan also gets to keep the extra vote in this circumstance of taking out JD, which would have had to play into their decision. However, as they have already clearly betrayed Jeannie and seem to have JD pretty much on lock, he may be less likely to flip and be a number for them when merge eventually happens, although in saying that, he is much more unpredictable of a player openly wanting to play big. I'm really on the fence with this decision, to be honest, of which way they should have gone. If I had to make a choice, I think they probably made the correct decision here. I think Genie, especially with the emotion she showed at Tribal, will be loyal to Ricard and Shan moving forward, as she has formed these genuine connections, whilst JD may be more sporadic as the game moves forward, plus the extra vote is of course an added bonus. But in saying all of this episode really just adds to me why Brad was the incorrect decision last week, as if he was around they would have had far more of a chance to win the challenge, and then they may not have been back at Tribal Council and put in this position. Bring back Brad. But speaking of this Tribal Council, that leads to my final key strategic decision of this episode, and that is, should Genie have taken the shot in the dark and rolled the dice? So this is the first case this season where I thought it was going to be played, with Genie looking like a clear I'm on the bottom, and if all evidence points to me being on the bottom, therefore I probably just have to gamble with my vote here to stay in the game. If all previous evidence points to you being the one to go home in a 3-1 vote here, you probably just have to risk it and play it, right? I'm assuming further conversations took place with Shan and Ricard, convincing Genie not to play it and to vote JD out of this game. But even then, if they were telling the truth and the dice was played, JD would still have gone home in a 2-1 vote, with Genie losing her vote in the process. Although in saying this, maybe Genie was thinking that if I'm still here next episode and we go back to Tribal, I'm definitely going to need this shot in the dark with there being no way to break up Shan and Ricard, so I just need to hold on to it in case. But this additional layer is almost like an idol in a sense, in the way that I feel like if your name is out there, the safe thing to do is just play it. Try to guarantee your position for the next episode, and then if it wasn't on you, so be it, and you have a chance to be safe regardless. The dice is there to be played, and it's better playing it and it not working out than not taking the chance and going home with it in your pocket. But ultimately, it was a great read by Genie, and now she has some ammo in her pocket if things do go south next episode. The fear of the dice alone may really shake things up the deeper we get into the game. But there you have it, another episode in the books, and with no pre-merge swaps in sight, I am very interested to see how the next few weeks play out, and how this will impact the game when merge comes. It has been a very long time since we have seen a season with no swaps, so when Jeff says we are in season 41, drop the 4, we are starting over, it's a new era, he definitely means it. The game is absolutely changing, so it was really nice to revisit a more standardized episode this week. There may not be many of them based on what we have seen so far, so definitely enjoy them while you can. As always, thanks to each of you for staying invested and coming back to my channel. It really means a lot, and if you are new, consider subscribing to stay tuned for more updates for season 41 each and every week. But for now, this is Analytical Strategy signing out once again, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.